Hello, I'm Amy from moonmindology.com, and today I have been playing a little bit with a very simple concept that I want to try out. I think it's pretty useful and it can give you a bit of an idea of what a political candidate it has to bring to a country. And the nice part about this is that we don't need a politician's birth time, so we can work simply with the birthday and the location. And because I'm focusing on the backdrop of planets in sign, it makes it a lot easier. So with a ascendant, it's quite a personal thing, whereas the signs, they're more of an impact on, the greater world. I do want to convince you this technique works, so I will also cover some previous leaders before I move ahead. Politics is a really odd thing because we vote based on limited evidence, fluffy words, and some historical impact of a party. But depending on the cabinet, which can change all the time, we may not get those fluffy words, and sometimes politicians can outright lie about what they're going to do and do the opposite. And so I'm going to use this technique to decide on who I'm going to vote on at the end of the year. So don't forget, if you want a reading, please go to moonmindology.com and you can book a reading there with me. So first up, the Taiwan election, and this has just happened, so we are going to have a look at this. Now, I'm really not well versed in Taiwanese politics, and all I know is whoever gets into power will be a significant driver in world events. Why? Because all countries are very, very, very interested in Taiwan. Why? They're a major producer and manufacturer of complex weaponry. So whether Taiwan is close to China or the West is very significant, and that's why our Western leaders can't keep their damn noses out of Taiwan. So now let's have a look at the backstory. So Tsai Ing-wen, if I'm saying that properly, she came into power in 2016, and you will see that with a lot of these leaders who are about during COVID, there will be planets in Virgo, and Virgo is the sign of health and your service workers. And as I said, my knowledge of Taiwan is really poor, so I'm pretty much trusting the system here to do all the hard work for me. So this could be inaccurate, but hey, at least it's unbiased. So first off, with Tsai Ing-wen, she would have had a shrinking effect on small business and agriculture, and there could have been some kind of food shortages as well, like we saw in other countries. Gemini is quite powerful here, so there could have been success and public support in travel and transport as well. So the media would probably be quite positive, and the people would tend to support the media, but it would have been run by billionaires, as it often is. Then you've got the house prices and the family unit that could be subjected to sudden changes and electrical difficulties, and there can also be the threat of earthquakes. People in power would have had to have a significant amount of control during this time, and I'm not sure if she was a China or the West supporter, but there was money being siphoned to the rich and people who have a lot of power, and I bet stocks were doing well, and those who were rich and powerful enough to invest were making a lot of money. And when I talk about her period, I'm talking about from 2016 and up to, it'll be May 2024, 20th of May, I believe. So lenders would have been doing very well during her reign as well. Now, she has such a strong Mercury, and I don't think that the service industry were hit too badly. And I think that they were, maybe, there was some assistance in travel, or there was something where it was praised by the media. And there's a good smooth flow of energy in this area as well. And I doubt that they had any, police issues or anything outlandish concerning servants to the people. And I would really be surprised if COVID affected them greatly as well. Unfortunately, all charts do have negative sides, and we're starting to look into those kind of things when we move to this side of the zodiac. Neptune is in Libra, and it's really good for creativity and music, but there can be some kind of confusion or denial in the social structure. And there could have been a lot of drug and alcohol related use, which can also cause problems. There's also an interesting conjunction of Rahu and Saturn in Scorpio, and this is really powerful and successful, good for successful specialists. And this can be science, coroners, and even bankers, which leads us into the money being siphoned into the lenders. So the banks did really well during this time, I would say. But there is a problem here as well. Of course, going back to the fourth house, you can see that there are sudden changes. That could be sudden changes that affect people's financial area because of maybe mortgages. Saturn is also in Scorpio, so that could be sort of like a narrowing as well. So maybe it could affect specialists and they may not have been needed in that time. Unlike in the Western world where specialists were almost deified. But perhaps it's poverty that was brought by these specialists if you've got the Saturn there. And I think government and alliances may have had a hand in creating problems for people with the banks. Banks and specialists seem to have a lot of power. So then let's move to Aquarius, where they have Mars. And this is all about friends and groups, but there could have been some anger or violence over something humanitarian. But overall, I don't think that the leader was focused on humanitarian things. Maybe it was an annoyance, so she sent the heavies out or something like that. But Mars in that house, maybe the alliances she had were aggressive. I don't know. But that's something that I would see there. It's quite difficult to, when you don't know anything much about Taiwan, it's quite difficult to see what direction it's going in. So this is kind of straight off the cuff in the literal meanings, although there could be stuff that I could be digging out if I knew more about the country. But there we go. So as I said, don't have any information about Taiwan, but we'll see. I'm sure people will comment to tell me how bad or good it is, but I'd be interesting to see that. I mean, this is all an interesting test just to see how it works. So without further ado, I will move on to the newly elected Lai Ching-te. So in this chart, we have Uranus, and it's in the fourth sign, and this is the same situation as the predecessor. And there are problems in the home and the land, sudden changes, earthquakes and electrical instability, so that could be problematic in the family homes, and there can be a destabilization of the family unit as well because Uranus is unpredictable. But in short, nothing's really going to change on the land, property and family front. Leo, this is where you're wealthy, this is where your wealthy people are. And they're about to get a whole lot more wealthy and a lot more powerful. And this is really going to drive up the rich being powerful and holding all the wealth. This is great for stocks. But this people could, at the top, could impose some power over the average person. And then we look into Virgo. And that's where you have all your servants of society, police and your general workers. And you have the Sun, Mars and Rahu here. And I don't particularly like this much. It's very hot and it's very aggressive. And there's some kind of material success, but it's angry and it's violent. And there could be, the case of big business, police or lenders who create some kind of authority in this area. There could be some kind of health clash as well. Then again, it could be something to do with recruiting more people to work building things that are aggressive, like, weapons and so forth. There is the same level of confusion as before with the previous leader in social structure, but there is more conversation and media coverage. There can be also more travel that's introduced to the social structure. And this could be, that there's more travel associated with health and those who serve Taiwan. And the specialists and bankers are going to be doing incredibly well. But I think that the public will support it for the most part. There could be a sign that there is a problem with a disease as well. And I actually think that the GDP per capita and laws, they could be in a bit of trouble here. I think in terms of legality, there could be a more liberal view on law. People feel freer, less less constricting laws, and that's kind of jazz. And then we have Ketu in Pisces, and this is all about the poor and crime. So if I'm seeing this correctly, we could actually see a reduction in poverty and crime under this leader. But I sincerely hope that everything works out for Taiwan, and I'm pleased to see that there's no obvious signs of actual war or anything like that here. I mean, I think Lai Ching-te will be about cultivating wealth and service. I think he's good for the poor, but let's go out on a limb here. He could bring a lot of employment to people by upping the production of weapons for the rest of the world. Taiwan is a leading manufacturer in microchips and things like that, so they're very, very precious to the West, to the East, and everybody. So that's why everyone's got everybody wants connections with Taiwan, whether you agree with it or not. It's a very, very important place. I hope you've enjoyed my reading, but thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, click the bell, share, all those things, and I will see you next time. Thank you very much. Ta-ra!